Thank you very much. Thank you. Very often, I've been asked how I got into this field and what the story behind me getting into duck racing and eventually becoming a 3-time champion trainer was. I would really love to have a duck that could beat Goku, and that's why I have this guy over here. The pinnacle of duck evolution. But you might be wondering how I even got to this point. Well, it all started 15 years ago. Another peaceful day at the farm. All my shrubs are doing well. I'm raking in the dough. It's just the perfect life. Wait, what the? A tornado? No. No! My farm. It's all gone. Wait. This egg. This singular duck egg. Yeah. Yeah, I can work with this. I'll make you the ultimate racing duck, and then the farm will be good as new. This is Duck Life 1, the first in a series of games that released 16 years ago by Wix Games, and still has releases to this day. It's incredible to think that this little flash game that I played as a child is still popular enough to have 8 sequels and possibly even more. Yeah, the story isn't the most in-depth, but considering it was a flash game from 16 years ago, I'm not going to give them grief. But regardless, let's get to it. So, I guess I should just get to it. Okay, now that was just incredible. This little guy spawned into the world 3 seconds ago and I immediately sent him to the Olympics. My fault, Mr. Quacks. Have some food. So in this game, the more seeds you feed Mr. Quacks, which is what I've named him by the way, the more his energy increases. And now that he's eaten a whole mountain of seeds, I'm sure he can beat every... Alright, so I suppose getting the newborn to run without training wasn't the best idea and I should probably train the little guy first. And so begins running training. One of the mini games to help improve your duck to be a beast of a racer. The running training is pretty simple. Mr. Quacks endlessly runs while logs roll towards him, and you jump over them. You can also collect coins that just float somehow, and this is one of the 2 ways to earn them, which we'll need lots of to increase his stamina. There are 2 types of seeds, the regular ones and the blue skill seeds. Now, I don't know why, but I've always remembered the blue ones boosting all skills, but I guess that just isn't the case. But now that we've trained, and we've eaten, it's time for our revenge. Back to the races. Look at Mr. Quacks go. Left his opponents in the dust. And with that incredible performance, we're rich. Go on, Mr. Quacks. You deserve this. Now no one can stop this water flying. Flying training time. Flying training is arguably the easiest training in Duck Life 1, seeing as it involves sliding off a ramp and then moving around to collect coins. There aren't even any obstacles to dodge, so this isn't really a Bro just fell off. The thing about this one is that if you don't really care about collecting the coins, you can just leave it as is and you'd get levels without having to do much work. And would you look at that? What a wonderful level 67. Now, time to ride up again before we crush the competition. Now, I'm smart, so I know that I have to swim in this game, because there's that little bit of water at the end of the last race. Now, the swimming training would be considered the most complex out of the 3, where we can move forwards and backwards, but also jump up or dive down to avoid obstacles such as buoys, the Titanic, the iceberg that hit the Titanic, and the island above Bikini Bottom. Now, while it is the most complex, it's also the easiest stack to level up considering that there's only ever one obstacle on screen, unlike running, and he doesn't just fall off like in flying. Which is to say, that in about 4 runs, I was already at level 146. Yeah, I know, I'm a bit of a pro gamer myself. With that confidence, it's time for the last 2 races of the beginner course. Look at him go, he's a literal god in water. Move over, Michael Phelps, we got a new swimming god in town. And just like that, Mr. Quacks dominated the final race as well, leaving all the other ducks behind him in the dust. A true show of dominance. Hell, two ducks didn't even cross the finish line because he moved so quick. Now, for such an incredible performance, you deserve a reward, Mr. Quacks. There we go. Looking all dapper now. Without wasting much time, and after a quick snack, it's straight to the amateur races. And without much difficulty, we were winning by a decent margin. Until the third race, when I discovered a fatal weakness of Mr. Quacks. He struggles with stairs or anything like stairs. The distance the other ducks had on him seemed fatal, but because of his superior swimming speed, he made it to the finish line just in the nick of time. Now, if we struggled in the third race, we'd definitely lose in the finals. So we decided to train up again, maxing out our swimming and bringing the other stats to a minimum of level 100. And then, the amateur finals were nothing for our little speed demon. He proceeded to speed blitz all the other ducks as a show of power. Now, having won the amateur races, we gained access to the expert races, and we knew we were among the best of the best. And at this point, we had a chance to run for the top. And upon entering the expert races, Mr. Quacks was still holding his... Wait, is that lava? Are we going up a volcano? Oh, alright I guess, if you're confident about it. I guess his confidence wasn't unwarranted. He gracefully flew over the lava pool in the second race and unsurprisingly dominated in the third race by swimming. We are now at the home stretch. With one final training session, Mr. Quacks was at his peak. 150s across the board, he was now ready to finish the expert races and earn the right to challenge the champ. The final race of the expert course was nothing to him. He blew past the competition and they weren't even a challenge. And with that, looking at our incredible race record, we were chosen to challenge the world champion himself, Gojo Satoru. I mean, come on, look at him. Winning here is what all this has been for. Winning here means we get the farm back. We can't afford to lose. With our wills determined to win, we challenge the champ. The strongest of today versus the strongest in history. Poor champ. He had no chance. After all, he was facing the duck god Mr. Quacks himself. It was only natural that he would fall. But finally, after all this time, after all that training, Mr. Quacks was now the world champion. He saved the farm and he even got a little crown for it. And that's it. That's the ending of Duck Life 1. Could have given us a little more fanfare for beating the game, but I'll take it. It was a simple yet fun game that I definitely had a lot of fun playing as a kid. And even now, it's still a fun little game to take your mind off. And much like most Flash games, was a quick gaming session on school computers. Now, my school didn't really give us internet access, nor did we use computers often, but I'm sure a lot of you guys have had the chance to play Flash games in school, and Duck Life might have been one of them. And with all good things comes a sequel. Now, sequels of most things don't necessarily have the best reputation, but I'm more of a seeing it for myself first type of person, and Duck Life 2 is no exception. Duck Life 2 starts us off with getting into actually naming our duck, a definite step up. Let's go with Waddles for her name. Oh, hello, Mr. Quacks. Waddles wastes no time, I see. She sees shiny and immediately wants to know where it's from. And immediately decides she needs to be the best to get the crown for herself. But wait, does that mean we have to face Mr. Quacks as the champ? Well, that doesn't matter. We're here to get Waddles that crown she wants, and get her that crown we will. Now, one big difference between the first game and this one is that there are level caps, and to increase the maximum level, we need coins. Damn. Now, even to get the chance to become overpowered, we need money. Moving on. The race courses we have now are actually in real countries, giving it that world championship feeling, just like the title said. The first set of races are in Scotland, which shouldn't really be an issue for what... I guess I haven't learned my lesson. Have I? Whoops. Running training is the same as ever, with the slight difference that now there is more variety in the obstacles that we have to jump over, such as logs, fruits, and balls. Next, with swimming, the training is the exact same. It was the best part of the first game, so I suppose there wasn't really any need to change it up at all. Flying training is basically the same with added obstacles, which are these spikes of rock from below and above. Now, don't ask me where these spikes are attached to, because I couldn't tell you to save my life. The biggest difference, however, is the inclusion of climbing, a fourth skill for our duck, along with its own training minigame, where Waddles climbs between two surfaces, jumping between them to avoid the uneven parts. Now, I personally found this minigame to be kinda buggy from time to time, where Waddles would just get stuck randomly, but otherwise it was an interesting addition as a minigame. Now, level 20 should be alright for the first races, and while the first race had us use 3 skills, Waddles still performed well. The second race was purely climbing, and I'm sorry if I sound stupid, but how exactly are these guys even climbing? Like how are they doing this? We came second, but I wanted to check something, and it turns out that the stats of the other ducks are actually random, because this time around we came 4th, and in one final try, I thought we won, but as it actually turns out, we were marked as second, with the finish line detection turning out to not be that accurate. So seeing that this was going to be a constant cycle, I decided to raise up the level cap and max out again, and overpower the other racers in the second race. Now, in my overconfidence, I severely underestimated how much harder the final would be, because not only were my skills not good enough, Waddles didn't even have enough energy to keep going till the end. Now this is basically how the progression of Duck Life 2 is for the most part. Every race requiring you to raise the level cap once or twice before being able to be equal or beat the other racers. And with that training, Waddles is able to overcome the Scotland races. Her first major step towards becoming world champion. Now that Waddles is racing in front of possibly a much bigger audience, why not give her a signature style that she'd be more recognized in, with this school safari hat and a bit of a tan? Mr. Quack's story was one of a struggle, where he had the fate of the farm on his shoulders, but Waddles? She's here for style and pride. So of course we're going all out with her look. Very stylish, Waddles, very stylish. But the drip out of the way, we're now ready to take on the next challenge. The first race takes place in the sewers. A very strange choice if you ask me, but it could be an entertainment phenomenon over there. But what would I know? With the first race in the bag, the second race should be... Well, that was embarrassing. Back to training we go. Ooh, that's gotta hurt. After that intense session of concussion training, Waddles is ready to charge straight ahead, and the rest of the races should be a breeze. And it was such a breeze, in fact, that the other racers of the finals couldn't even finish the race. With the English Championship conquered, Waddles decided a new style was in order. A royal purple style. With the makeover done, it was time for the next challenge. The Egyptian Trophy. With her dominating the previous course, the first race of the Egyptian Trophy should pose no problem for her. And unsurprisingly, she was able to easily scale the pyramid and pull an easy win. But the races in Egypt turned out to be quite formidable, and Waddles was only able to get second in the second race. And it was again time for more concussion. I mean training. Yep, meant training. Okay, we're back from training, looking better than ever. Excellent. Perfect form to take on the rest of the races. And perfect form is right, because Waddles was easily able to overpower and maintain the lead on all the other ducks without even breaking a sweat. Which means we're now in the final stretch with only one more championship before the grand finale in Japan. The ducks in Hawaii were incredibly tough, with Waddles just barely being able to clutch the win at the end. Now these were the real deal. The current generation's top contenders and the ones almost ready to challenge the champion. Which means we don't have any choice but to surpass them all. With that, we need one final round of training to bring all our stats to their peak, maxing out all of them, and with that, even the champ won't stand a chance. With the final bits of training out of the way, Waddles is now maxed out. Is what I would say, but as it turns out, once you hit 150, it just seems to keep going beyond the limit. So currently, Waddles has pushed past her own limits and reaching heights previously thought unachievable. Going back to the races, they were a cakewalk, with Waddles zooming past the competition without any difficulty and even flying over a lava pool in typical duck life fashion. And even managing to fly past an entire running section and straight into climbing on the last wall. And with that incredible performance, the World Championship was upon us. The semi-finals had us flying across building to building and into an indoor swimming pool. Smashing our head into the side of the building first, of course. Can't not pile up the brain damage. But clearly Waddle seems unaffected by it. Dap? Oh, for sure, man. Wait, McDuckles? What do they even serve there? Well, possible cannibalism aside, this is quite a long course. I kid you not when I say I almost dozed off while waiting for this to end. Finally, after all our trials and tribulations, we made it to the finals. Now what epic scene is going to play out between us and Mr. Huh? Nothing. And who is this? That's not Mr. Quacks, that's some random. Alright, at least I hope he puts up a fight and... he couldn't even keep up. All that hype for him, and that was it? It was quite underwhelming if I'm being honest, and no fanfare or anything, we're champ now. Hey, I mean, I guess you got your wish, eh, Waddles? All in all, I really have to say, Duck Life 2 wasn't able to beat the bad sequel allegations. For the most part, it was the same game, albeit with more races, a few aesthetic changes, and sadly buggier minigames. The level cap system, while understandable, felt quite meh to me. I don't mean to sound harsh considering it is an old Flash game, but it really feels like the first one was better in terms of the bugginess, at least for me. It wasn't by any means horrible, that's not what I'm trying to say at all. I'm saying there was definite room for improvement after this, which I can only hope was worked on in later iterations of the game. At some point, after getting my ducks to be world champion twice, I had the thought of, what if I could train my duck to be even more powerful, to the point where it could even beat Goku?
Hey, it's me, Goku!
Well, clearly I wasn't the only person who thought this, as we see in Duck Life 3. The core theme of Duck Life 3 is evolution. As we can see with the title screen right here, there are 4 different paths the ducks can take in terms of evolution, seemingly to be specialized in different skills. Ducks can now be bred to become specialized for a certain skill. Duck racers are ecstatic at the news. A new breed of duck racing is here. That's crazy if you really think about it, you know. Like, ducks are already cool, like as you saw Mr. Quacks and Waddles, but these guys, that's just a dude. That's a man right there. Yes, I have heard about your modified ducks. I get to pick. Ooh. Using the most scientific of methods, you know, like we're like intellectuals here. We gotta use a method that makes sense. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe, catch the shabby by the toe. If he jumps, if he jumps away from you, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. We use the most important method and we landed on flying type, and we will be doing that. A big change we noticed with Duck Life 3 is that the UI and everything else has been simplified. And on top of that, it doesn't appear to have a shop system or visible level caps as of right now. The race system is set as qualifiers and then finals of each of the leagues. So qualifiers would have 3 and we will come back to finals when we get there. This time we're actually just going to start with training, and since we are an expert at flying, we can start with flying. Oh, in this one we have an additional mechanic in the thing where these purple coins give you a little bit of a speed boost so that you can keep flying. But in running training, it's the same as before, but we see that there's an additional level of challenge as there are these bouncing tennis balls that act as a distraction, so you can't just keep jumping willy-nilly. You have to know when you have to jump and plan it accordingly. That did not hit me. How did that hit me? How did that hit us? Climbing training, as it was the newest skill introduced in Duck Life 2, remains absolutely the same in terms of training and how the mechanic works in the minigame. Seeing as it was a fairly decent minigame, with the exception of the bugginess of it all, I don't see why they would have needed to change much about it. However, a little bit of variety would have been nice. Swimming training, as the most perfect training in all 3 games so far, remains absolutely the same. Now, one of the biggest differences in Duck Life 3, along with the fact that the UI is much more simple, is the fact that the shop no longer exists. And also, if you take a look, next to each stat, because of the type of duck that we chose, there's a difference in the stat. So some stats are weaker than others. So those stats in the beginning actually make a difference. But having reached our idea of having everything level 20, I think it's about time we begin with the qualifiers, which seems to be a very swimming heavy race. With the second race being purely flying, it comes as no surprise that we absolutely dominate the race. And with the final race putting together both of those previous races, it comes as no surprise that we are still able to dominate the race. And with just barely enough energy to make it as well. Let's go! So the finals also comprise of 3 separate races, with the 2 initial ones showing halves of the race and the final being a combined sprint. So I thought there was actually no level caps, but as it turns out, there seems to be level caps of 50 for all of these races. And based on what it says here, it may be possible that there are different kinds of trainings for each of these skills, which if it is the case, that would be really amazing and a definite step up from the previous games. And now that I know that, there's no way I can just not max out the levels. And now that we have reached 50s across the board, I think it's time to finally give the final race of the final segment of this league one final push. Oh, what's this? What's happening with Aero? Whoa, your duck is now a birdie duck. And we can enter the advanced league. So this is how the evolution part of Duck Life 3 Evolution comes up. As we advance the leagues, our duck Arrow evolves and the visuals change accordingly. And we've entered the Advanced League in London with a maximum level of 100. Stronger contestants, longer tracks, and what I can only assume to be new training games. And a new jazzy background OST. And I was right, there are new training games. Now, with advanced flying training, the concept is overall the same. We use our mouse to fly around the screen, but instead of avoiding just obstacles, we now have to follow through the gaps in the buildings. As far as differences go, I think this is an interesting addition to the game. It adds a little bit of variety in the training, which was desperately needed. Running training is basically the same with the inclusion of these ledges that we can climb above, which adds an extra layer of difficulties. As we can't just wait for all the balls to come towards us, we have to anticipate how we have to move. It is a little janky, I will have to say. Climbing training as well is basically the same, but instead of a cave, we're now scaling a building, avoiding dishes or antennas, whatever you call them. Now, what buildings are shaped like this? I don't know. Maybe London is like that. I have to ask my friends there. Swimming training is now the same, but with different obstacles. We've got submarines in the mix now. And we've got random spiky platforms. Now, considering this is right next to London, I don't know what the submarines are doing there, but hey, who am I to question that? It's not like I would know. Man, London in the Duck Life franchise is a really weird place. We've got races in sewers, we've got submarines next to the city, not to mention the random spiky platforms. Now, with hundreds across the board, I think it's time to take on the races. We're not giving them any chances. We're going all in. Here we get to see a glimpse of the other kinds of ducks, the climbing, swimming, and running ducks. And we get new music for the races. And having beaten the qualifiers so easily, there should be no issues in the finals as well. Having blown past the competition in all the other races, the final of the finals should pose no issue for good old Arrow over here. And unsurprisingly, he is leagues above the others. And having won the finals of the Advanced League, Arrow gets to evolve once more. Your duck is now a bird. I thought they already were, but... And we get to enter the Advanced League, which just so happens to be on Easter Island. This version of flying training combines the concepts of the other two, avoiding the exclamation marks and following the arrows. Running training changes it up a little bit. Instead of having the obstacles run towards us, we are now dashing towards them and trying to jump out of the way. The jump itself feels a lot more rigid and stiff as compared to previous versions of the game, but it definitely adds a little bit of variety in the way it plays. Now, pro swimming training is actually the most unique out of all the other ones, as it follows a completely new style of gameplay. Unlike the others, where they combine the concepts of the first and second versions of the minigames, this is completely different in a Flappy Bird-esque way, where you swim through a cave and not bump into any of the walls. Climbing training is basically the same as the original one. It's just got a different background, and the gameplay is essentially the exact same. Of course, I don't know what Arrow is doing in the name of climbing, but if it helps him, well and good, I suppose. Now, this version of climbing training in the third game feels a little bit more wonky. I feel it's possibly because of Arrow's duck type. Because he's a flying type, the way the graphics work for the model itself may not be perfect with the training, which is why it comes off as really, really messy. It feels like the first and second version of this in the third game alone were better than this. And with all of our skills, ignore energy, at 150, It's time to dominate the races again. And of course, there's new music for the races. And here we get a better look at the other kinds of ducks as well. One's a fish, one's just a dude, and the other is a wider dude. I'm not sure if the model is just supposed to look like that, but if Aero decides that's how he's doing it, that's how he's doing it. And would you look at that? They couldn't even make it to the finish line. Now this is new. It looks like we found a portal. It leads to another world. I wonder where it goes. The portal takes you to the lair of the ultimate racer. As you travel, you feel yourself evolve one final time. Your duck is now a supreme duck. Now this seems to be what the pinnacle of evolved ducks are. He's just like a Super Saiyan, I think. Or is this Ultra Instinct? It matches the color of Ultra Instinct much more. Whoa. We're now in space. We have a final race. And we're Ultra Instinct. So apparently the champion duck has an army of Domokuns. I truthfully don't really remember what these are from. But as it turns out, we have to fight them as we race. This is really different compared to the other final champion races, where we have to actively interact and protect our duck as we race. This is going to be interesting. And the music fits. It's like a really dark and orchestral version of the race theme. And with that final charge, taking down all of the Domokuns, we finally beat the ultimate racer himself, and have now emerged as the new ultimate racer. And we've unlocked this space as our own and gotten this throne where we oversee all of duck racing in the universe, as it looks like. And that is the story of how Aero became the true supreme duck racer. All in all, Duck Life 3 really did try to stand out, and it definitely did. While the original formula is still there, the little bits of changes sprinkled throughout, such as the different scenes, variations in training, and heck, even the music, it really did set itself to be a finale of a story arc. The concept of class-style evolution added an interesting element of challenge when it came to buffs and debuffs to certain skills, which I did find interesting. Now, is it perfect? Nothing can ever be perfect. But did I enjoy it? Definitely. And there we have it, the original Duck Life 3 trilogy in all its glory. Well, I'm sure it's been tweaked and isn't exactly the same experience that the Flash games had, but it does manage to stand on its own as a pretty entertaining short game for anyone to enjoy. I truly do have to give it to Wix Games for making this franchise and having it be so fun. I remember spending countless hours playing Duck Life games as a kid because I loved them so much, and getting to play them again really did hit me with that sense of nostalgia. So I'll say it again, thank you Wix Games. And thank you, dear viewer, for sticking around till this part. I hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, and if you did, I would really appreciate it if you dropped a like and subscribe to stick around. I do hope to take many more trips down the Flash game and games of the 2000s era with you all. I have many that I want to check out and would love to hear suggestions from you as well. So please do leave down in the comments any games you would like me to check out as well. But until then, I have been Shabby, I will always be Shabby, and I will see you awesome people next time. Bye bye!